What is up, guys? Flossy Missiles here, back from Yosemite. I took that green high top all the way up there and it did great the whole time. A little on the slow side, but it did awesome. But guess what? We're back on the Subaru Vanagon swap setup. So let me show you what I got going on, and we'll start from the bottom. Okay, so heater lines. We're right now at the axle of the passenger side. So it's a 3/4 to 5/8 adapter. Barbed on both sides. I just got those from a local hardware store. But basically the Volkswagen ones are a little bit bigger, so you had to reduce them to fit with the Subaru lines. There's a little T setup I made right there, so the coolant has a little bypass. Those are just some 5/8 T's, which you can get those also at a hardware store. Really cheap. That whole setup is really easy, and it is done now, so I don't gotta worry about heater lines. Let's go up top and look at what else I've done. So I got the coolant system all in and set up. I don't know if I had this in the last video, but I added a little 1-inch coming off right there. So that's how the coolant will get in the system. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked on this. Hopefully everything works good. If not, you guys will know right away. I'll let you guys know. I'll make a video about it. But that's the coolant system. Super simple. Just goes right there. Whoop. Charcoal canister. So that leads back to my charcoal canister. Got a vacuum line coming off right here. Goes into a line right there. And then into the intake manifold, or actually pulls vacuum, so it goes this way. But yeah, that's the setup for that. Let me know what you guys think about that. I wasn't too sure. I couldn't find out that much information about like charcoal canister setups on vans. Power steering. My power steering is all plumbed in. I went with the KEP kit. As you can see, it had a nice little 90 right there. And it wraps around and drops in right there. So power steering went super easy, super clean setup. This is the fitting I got with KEP, and it didn't actually work with my power steering pump. This side didn't, but this side did. And so basically what I did is I went to a hardware store as well, again, and I got one that was this thread on both sides, and worked out great. This side's actually for an older power steering pump from a Subaru, so if you have an older Subaru swap going into your car, this will work just fine. You don't have to get anything else. This is what the bolt that came out of it looked like. These are those T's I was telling you about down below for the heater lines. I actually got too many because I bought some a long time ago and then I forgot, and I went and bought some more. I made some little angle brackets right there. Boom, boom, one on both sides. And those hold the heat shield up right there. You can see, got one of those on both sides. I just made those out of some metal and bent them up probably in 10 minutes, super easy. The intake came out really good. I'm really stoked on the way this intake turned out. These are all pieces off of Amazon. Whole setup ended up only costing like 50 bucks. And I'm reusing this factory Subaru piece, which goes from here to here. And what I did with this one is it used to have this obnoxious like sound thing right here. I think it's to deaden the sound or make it so the intake noise isn't as loud, this piece right here, and it was just in the way, so I cut it off and I JB welded a PVC plug onto it, and then I tapped a 90-degree onto it, so I have somewhere for my vacuum lines to go, because on the stock intake system there's like a few ports on the piece right here where the vacuum lines go into. Speaking of vacuum lines, breather hoses, I guess, really. I got the breathers coming off of both the valve covers right here, and they meet in the middle, and then I got them going into this T. And this is just some like 5/8 line, and it's going to go right into there, or 1/2 inch. I don't know what size that is. Pretty small. I had to extend this line. This one usually goes from here to here on the stock Subaru setup, and it goes into this line right here. But yeah, it's moved back here. So everything's done as far as breathers and stuff like that. I moved these 2 solenoids right here and plumbed all this stuff in. So yeah, everything's looking really good. Here's the intake system I built. I kind of wanted to have my intake breathe in more fresh air than my last Subie swap setup on the Synchro, because like a lot of dust and debris gets kicked up right here, and I wanted to block this off, and so I have a cone filter on the other side of this. And so the idea is fresh air just comes in through the side of your van, goes down, and then it gets sucked in right there. It's pretty easy to pop off. 2 bolts and then 2 screws. And so, yeah, not too bad. Hopefully it works good. It fits really, really nicely. I made a little cork gasket. I put some sealant on it just for the heck of it. And here's a vacuum line I plumbed in for the brake booster. So this is a factory Subaru line that I cut down. There's actually a one-way check valve inside this, and it bolts right up to the Volkswagen line, the stock OEM one. Okay, now here's one of the things I was a little more worried about. This is the Volkswagen to Subaru exhaust setup that I came up with. Basically, I just had a bunch of Volkswagen scraps laying around that were really kind of on the rustier side, and then a few Subaru scraps I had laying around, which were also not in the best shape. But I made it work. Everything fits super nice, and I think I have enough clearance, and I think everything should be good, but I'll give you guys a review once I got it in. But basically, let me show what I made. I basically made these headers. So this one goes from the passenger side all the way over, and this one goes from the driver's side right over. So that's like a super short header. That's a super long header. This is all stock Volkswagen. The only thing I did is I added a thing for your O2 sensor right there, because no O2 sensor bung there before. And for the Subaru setup that I have, it's OBD2 and it has 2 oxygen sensors. There's the stock OEM one, which the Subaru ones just screw right into. And so yeah, now I got both of them on there, but this was already all stock. And what I did is I zip tied it up in the car and then worked on making these, which was super simple. I honestly just cut off the flange from the Volkswagen, or from the Subaru, bolted those on and then mocked up pieces and seen what flowed good and what looked good and which had enough clearance, and welded it all together. I painted it this gray, this high heat gray color. The reason I painted it gray is so I could find exhaust leaks. Oopsie, I'm tripping over stuff. Yeah, I want to be able to find exhaust leaks, and so yeah, that's why it's this color, and it should flow pretty good. This previous setup that someone did is really kind of junky. Yeah, so I'm not too worried about this. All this was kind of like really beat up older metal, so I don't know. I might remake the exhaust eventually one day out of like better quality stuff or new stuff, but this was just cheap and I made it really quickly out of stuff I had laying around. Here's an exhaust bracket I made, which actually bolts right onto the motor, and yeah, it goes from like right below that J pipe and then onto the motor. I found this random stainless steel muffler bracket I had, and then here is the bracket that holds the muffler. So this bolts onto the Rocky Mountain Westie heat shield, which is actually designed for that, and so it's super duper strong. This bolts on and holds it right in place. This is actually, I think, the original Volkswagen muffler, because it still has the branding on it, the Audi and the Volkswagen emblems, which I think is super cool. But it's also probably not working at all, because when you shake it, it sounds like it has a bunch of sand or beans in it or something. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel, and everything I've done that you guys missed out on is all super simple stuff. So right now the only thing I'm waiting on is my wiring harness, and it's taken months. So, and they're saying it's still gonna be a couple more weeks because they're waiting on some board or something like that, I don't know. But as soon as that harness gets here, I'm gonna throw it in the car and we are gonna get this thing started up. I'm super excited because right now it's kind of a limbo. I'm like, what do I do with this thing? It's all ready to go. I mean, I just took that off so I could show you guys how I made it, but everything's ready to go. And also this stuff's ready to be bolted back up, but it's ready to go. I just need that stupid wiring harness. And so as soon as that thing gets in, we're gonna throw it in the car. We're gonna get this thing fired up. I even started doing some random stuff, like I went ahead and drained the transmission, and I'm about ready to fill that thing back up again and have some fresh fluid in there. But yeah, everything is complete as far as I can understand. I just got to do the wiring, and then we'll take this thing for its very first drive and see what this 2.2 Subie is all about. If you like today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more car content. Thank you so much for watching. So the neighbors got this little Samurai, and it threw a rod through the block last night. There's the rod right there. Oh, there's the hole, I guess I should say.
See the rod?
Yeah, rod's in the back. Look at that thing. And he just fired this thing back up, and it started. Why isn't Suzuki still making cars? That is so funny. Wow. This thing doesn't want to die. That is so funny.
That's incredible, dude.
Shout out to Suzuki.